Last week we spoke about focusing on what you can do rather than what you can't do. This week we're going to talk about false light. False light is something that has deeply infiltrated not only the spiritual and New Age communities, but also our society in general. False light is the illusion of truth. It is the illusion of a true connection to source energy. And through its illusion, it can be very hard for us to see through the lies that are irrevocably embedded into the truth. Religion is the biggest example of false light. We know that truth exists within religion, but we also know that lies are buried deeply into the doctrines in the name of greed, power, control, and hate. But what many people do not recognise is that the New Age community has also been deeply infiltrated with mistruths and misguidance in order to keep even the awakened off track and disconnected from source. As we awaken from the darkness and start to walk our spiritual path, we must be aware of the traps that are set for us along the way. We must do our due diligence and constantly check in with ourselves to see if the teachings that are being shared with us feel right to us in that moment. And here's where it gets interesting. What may feel right to you in one moment may not feel right to you in another. The further you walk your path, the more you start to understand, grow, and evolve, the more you start to recognize the false light. Even if you don't recognize it under the guise or label of false light, you will start to become more and more in tune with yourself and recognize that something just doesn't feel right for you. You will choose to do the things that do feel right for you, thus leaving the other stuff behind. As you go through this process of recognizing what's right for you and what isn't, you evolve once more to higher levels of consciousness. Within those higher levels of consciousness, you start to recognize not only what doesn't feel right for you, but also what doesn't feel right as a teaching, full stop. False light teachings tend to come with a high percentage of truth. That is how we get trapped within the false light in the first place, because so much of it feels good, right, and true. That's because it is. And when we are shifting from the darkness of our society and into the light, the false light feels really good because it is still light. It is still truth, and it does still propel us from the darkness and into our wisdom and journey into truth. The false light is a vehicle into ascension, but we can only go so far in that process when we are being led by the false light and false truths. At some point, we have to start to work our way through the trappings of the truth in the lies and the lies in the truth. And here is where it gets messy. As we go through our spiritual journey, we start to identify with the experiences that we've had, with the entities and beings that we've channeled, the medicines that we've taken, the information that we've received. And wherever we identify with something, our ego starts to get involved. Now, that's not to say that everything that we have experienced and identified with is incorrect or false light. Far from it. But it is down to us to recognize that the false light exists within our teachings and within our experiences, and to then do the work that we need to do to set ourselves free from it. The false light has its grips on you when you refuse to acknowledge its existence within your experience. When your ego refuses to allow itself to be shattered by its illusion. Transcendence comes at the moment you relinquish your ego, your need to be right, and surrender yourself to God, to the true light, no matter the cost to your ego. It is time for us to start to align ourselves with the true light, whilst honouring any experiences that we've had within the false light as a valuable lesson in growth and ascension. To do this, simply set the intention to do so. State that you work only for and with the true light, and that you choose, intend and command for all false light distortions to fall away from your experience. But be warned, you may find that a lot of what you've been working with in good faith may fall away as a result of this intention. But when you accept this as part of your journey into ascension and honour the false light as part of your evolutionary process, you can allow the ego to step aside and make room for whatever new experiences your deepening connection with the true light will bring as you now allow yourself to evolve further. To make your way through false light can sometimes give you quite the frights. The truth in lies and lies in truth, presented with the twisted truth. Opening up all the time, it's all in line with the divine. A very long journey this will be, as more and more you start to see. Pushing through all the lies, as you see through your disguise. Twisted facts to keep you down, and stop you wearing your true crown. That keeps you connected to something less. I've been there too, I must confess. That holds you in inverted truths, although the light, it does still soothe. That keeps you not quite reaching source and tries to keep you off your course. That keeps you in a lower link, not as ascended as you think. But this is easily undone, even when they think they've won. Just set the intention that we did state and reconnect with your true fate. Set the intention that we said and get that ego out of your head. Allow false light to crash down, then you'll claim your true crown. So I hope you enjoyed this week's message. To hear more about false light, please join me next week as we go deeper into this subject. And as always, thank you for listening.